Today's video is sponsored by NobleBitcoin.com, the internet's premier website for information and expert advice on buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, the world's newest and fastest growing digital currencies. These cryptocurrencies are really changing the world's finance and investing institutions. So if you're interested in Bitcoin, saving money, or investing in cryptos, visit NobleBitcoin.com today, or give their handy dandy phone number a call. Talk to a Bitcoin consultant yourself. NobleBitcoin.com has everything you need to know to get started, so I highly recommend you check them out today. Links below. Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about the corrupt comic book industry in America, and one particular story that's been unfolding over the past week or so related to it. You see, a YouTuber by the name of Diversity in Comics has been criticizing the SJW comic book pros for a long while now. Left-wing, Marxist, pro-diversity, and anti-white ideology has taken over much of modern comics, so Diversity started a commentary channel to challenge that, and hopefully bring comics back to their former glory one day. Here's a quick example of him making some good points about the new flagship for Marvel, Captain Marvel.
She's, she's so popular, she gets 5 series because first 4 keep getting canceled for low sales. But they just keep bringing her back. She gets mentioned in everything. She's on every poster. She's right there in their face. And that's both the problem with her, but that's also the problem with modern Marvel. She is being forced upon the reader.
This video was about a year ago, but Marvel has been pretty antagonistic with its fans for much longer now. And keep in mind, this is Marvel Comics. The Marvel movies are pretty much separate at this point. Besides pulling from the comic book source material, Marvel Comics versus Marvel movies is like night versus day. One side, the comics, are terrible, SJW garbage, which no one likes, while the movies are still pretty amazing and doing exceedingly well at the box office.
After one solid weekend, Infinity War's already brought in a whopping, wait for it, $630 million worldwide, and it became the biggest global opening of all time.
With that in mind, SJW Marvel Comics have really been swirling the drain in the last year or so, and our boy, Diversity in Comics, has been calling them out and trying to set them straight along the way, much to no avail. And obviously the SJW pros don't take too kindly to all this criticism, and unfortunately for DNC, the SJWs have been using their power, their professional clout, and social media accounts to attack him. They've warred in the streets of Twitter and YouTube and on comic book news outlets for the better part of the last year, mostly trading insults and some small blows in the forms of exposing Diversity's personal information at times, and slandering him as a failed comic book artist. Bullshit like that, and well, now, Diversity in Comics has decided to challenge the failed artist slam by making his own comic book through crowdfunding on Indiegogo. His project is called Jawbreakers, but maybe we should start nicknaming it SJW Breakers, because this little indie comic book project may have sparked an even bigger controversy, one which has very likely brought down a couple of SJW comic book pros at Marvel, and Jawbreakers could even go on to redefine the whole comic book industry. Let me explain. What started out as a modest goal of $10,000 eventually snowballed into Jawbreakers earning over $100,000 as of about a week ago. This is when the SJW comic book pros really started to pay attention to it, with nefarious plans to use their resources to shut down Diversity in Comics project. Enter Mark Waid, a comic book industry veteran working at Marvel, who spent an entire workday last week ranting and raving about Jawbreakers on Twitter, trying to bully people online into shutting it down. He even went so far as to call their publisher, Antarctic Press, to try and coerce them into not printing the book. And unfortunately, the publisher eventually caved in and dropped Jawbreakers.
Mark Waid and a whole host of vicious SJW comic book pros decided to weaponize social media to threaten and intimidate a very, very small publisher. Absolutely devastated them. I mean, the owner has a regular job. He was just nerves shot, absolutely frazzled. Never seen this kind of bullying and intimidation in his career.
But this Mark Waid interference had quite the opposite effect he intended, actually. Basically, the Streisand effect took hold here. Denying people the ability to buy Jawbreakers in stores made people just want to see this supposedly taboo comic that much more. The Indiegogo campaign received even more support following this debacle, rising all the way up to 281,000 as of today. That's fucking huge, guys. And it really shows that comic book fans are sick of this social justice warrior censoring bullshit. No more 1984, say we. We want the freedom to buy and read the comic books we want, not what the liberal leftist Gestapo tells us we want. Following this huge and embarrassing show of force from the fans with their dollars, Mark Waid was then ordered to delete his Twitter and all social media, as per the demands of his supervisor at Marvel. And I'm willing to bet Waid won't be working in the industry anytime soon. Not after all this. Mark Waid could even be facing some legal repercussions here as well. Diversity in Comics has a good case for suing him, based on the unfair ways he used his power in the comic book industry. Comic books and other products are supposed to compete fairly on the shelves, at the stores, with the customers. A comic book pro from one company is not allowed to call another company and bully them into not publishing a book because they don't like the author. This is unfair competition. And sure, Wade and other SJWs have their reasons. They always do. They always make up some big lies and slanders, like the ones they've thrown at diversity in comics. They call him a racist, a sexist, a homophobe. All the buzzwords SJWs love to throw around, but we all know they mean nothing and they're usually not even true at all. The real reason the industry is so shaken by this little indie comic Jawbreakers is because it's showing how fucking dumb and terrible their own comics are. Diversity has been proven right over and over again here. The people have spoken and they don't want comics with a gay lesbian Captain Marvel girl. And they don't want a feisty black teenager playing Iron Man. We want fucking Tony Stark. And strong salient points like this are why they really want to silence DC and Jawbreakers. It's because they're afraid this comic will come out and show them up. And they should be, because it most definitely will. And I can't wait to get a copy myself. In my estimation, the reason diversity in comics gets so much backlash from the comic book pros is pretty simple. The why is a simple question to answer here. It's pretty much because diversity in comics is right about everything. He knows his shit, especially when it comes to comic books. So when he reviews the books, breaking down their stories and art and social impact, well, he's usually spot on. His videos are well thought out, informative, and most of all, they're very accurate critiques of a now failing industry, which must be embarrassing when the comic book pros see it themselves. Here's another sample of his work. This time it's Diversity in Comics commenting on the new SJW G.I. Joe.
I got this G.I. Joe a couple days ago at Midtown Comics, and I was happy because I just wanted a very simple comic about roasting this character, a 300-pound Samoan woman who Aubrey Sitterson, a extreme far-left, proud socialist, who IDW insanely put as writer of G.I. Joe.
So you can see he has a pretty humble personal show he's running there. Sure, he jokes around and goofs on the SJWs for fun too, but he's clearly not this offensive racist monster the pros try and make him out to be. He's just some guy recording videos on his cell phone. So why are they so afraid? Well, I say it's because he's pretty much right, and he's exposing them as poor comic book creators and authors and writers and drawers. In the end, what we got here is the culmination of things that have been going on in both professional comics and on Diversity's YouTube channel. The two have been battling it out in the public space, and DC has been winning for the most part. That's why SJW Marvel is so pissed. They want to stop him and silence him. And if Mark Waid had any common sense, he wouldn't have acted like a giant man baby and done this whole mafia-style intimidation thing that he did with the former publisher of Jawbreakers and Arctic Press. Because that's where things really crossed the line here. And not only did this attempt at censorship make Jawbreakers blow up even more and become even more popular and sell more copies, it also may have cost Mark Waid his job. And it certainly made Marvel look like they have egg on their face here. How do you come back after bullshit like this? I don't know. They've already ruined most of their characters and their best comics at Marvel. The only thing Marvel has going for it right now is the movies, which of course is a big thing to have. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is the only thing keeping comic book Marvel afloat, actually. Without those highly successful films, the comic book side of Marvel would have shut down a long time ago. I mean, it's pretty obvious it's not about sales for Marvel anymore. Marvel Comics doesn't care about getting popular by making comics people want to read and buy. Nope. If they wanted to do that, they probably would have just bought Jawbreakers and published it themselves. It's pretty apparent a lot of people want to read that book. People want to read Jawbreakers much more than they want to read the bullshit SJW Marvel comics, the crap they've been trying to peddle. And that's not even mentioning their awful, terrible PR skills, particularly on Twitter. If Marvel Comics wanted to make money on their stories, they sure wouldn't be letting losers like Mark Waid yell at and intimidate potential customers on Twitter every day. Him and many others at the company have scorched the earth there, blocking people with questions, calling everyone racist and sexist, throwing little tantrums. This is not how a company acts if they want to please their audience and make money. No, this is how an entitled group of SJW radicals would act when they know they got the Marvel movies backing them up and paying all their bills. The SJWs there know they have free reign because their parent company is always going to foot the bill, so they basically said fuck it. The SJWs don't care what the people want anymore. They don't care about making money and selling comics. They only care about pushing their radical, left-wing, practically communist ideologies. And this is only the tip of the iceberg of these stories too. A quick summary. Frankly, I've wanted to cover the whole SJW takeover in comics for a while now, particularly at Marvel. So when this Jawbreaker story popped up, I just couldn't resist chiming in this time. But there is a lot more to it. There's a lot more to the SJWs taking over the comic book industry. And there's a lot more to the shocking story of Jawbreakers being unethically silenced by comic book pros. If you want more details or to watch more videos by Diversity in Comics, check out his links, which I put in the description below. There's also a link to his Jawbreakers project too, if you want to support him in making independent comics for the real fans to enjoy. What do you guys think about today's today's story? Are the SJWs ruining Marvel Comics? And do you think Mark Waid crossed a line when he intimidated the Jawbreakers publisher? And do you think this story could make it further and be a bigger splash, like get on the national news? I sure hope so. Shining light on this situation is the only way to start disinfecting it and ridding the comic book industry of the cancer that is social justice. Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. See y'all next time.